What is up, friends? I'm just finishing up my ODC class this Monday morning, and I got an awesome question in the chat, which was, can you say a little bit more about posture next week or next time we meet? And I love this question. And of course, I want to say more about posture next week, but I also want to come on here and do a little side video because I probably have more to say than I can realistically fit into a class and not have it be completely disruptive. So first of all, this workout, the reason this came up is because I mentioned how we are strengthening our back muscles and our full 360 core in this class. We're not really doing core work that we think of like on the ground. We're doing dynamic functional core work, moving our spine through all of its paces, right? Moving it into forward and back flexion, lateral flexion, rotational movements, combining those movements, right? We really go to town on our core muscles, meaning the muscles of we think of as our abs and our back, all right? It's legit the best workout I've found to just completely reactivate the entire muscles of the upper body. In addition, I might have made the comment in a portion of the class when we were strengthening our upper back muscles that aren't really back muscles in the sense that they don't have a huge role in moving my spine, but they move and they support movement of, and they make movement strong, safe, and possible of my arm. So that's muscles that are more superficial, the ones you can kind of see, especially on someone who's more like defined than me. But the ones that you can see that are moving my shoulder blade, right? We're talking traps and lats and rhomboids. Like these are muscles that have major role in stabilizing our spine from the superficial spinal stabilizers, not the deep spinal stabilizers. That's a different topic. And they definitely provide assist in keeping my posture open. Because when people talk about posture or compromised posture, the first thing they're thinking of is the slouch, right? They're thinking of rounded, this terrible neck strain, which even just demonstrating it here feels terrible, and the slouch under, either a tuck butt under, which is very common, or a crimped up low back, also common. But I see a lot of this. I see a lot of totally glutes that are tucked under or possibly very tightened, jamming up the low back, pressure from sitting, distended abs that aren't assisting in pulling up, and the upper back muscles, the shoulders roll in. These upper back muscles I was just talking about go to sleep, and we get stuck here. All right, and it's a very sad downhill journey from here. And we all know, we've all seen someone even probably in public, or we know someone whose life is really compromised in terms of like, it is painful. It's painful to just be independent and to move around because of the position that their bodies are in. They have to strain to look up. We don't want to head that way. We want to actively, daily resist gravity, right? Work with gravity, use it as a strengthening tool, and pull up from everywhere we've got. So like I was saying, eccentrics, we're constantly moving our core. We're conditioning our core in functional ranges of motion that are sort of stylized from things that we need to do in daily life. Reaching and grabbing, crouching, spinal directional movements, period. So I wanted to also add a little bit more about how I think of posture because it's a little bit broader definition than just lifting here. And then I'm going to talk about some of the things that I recommend you do in your daily practice that hopefully are going to help you get ahead of the postural decline. All right. First thing is I want you to think of posture as a joint concept, not just a spinal concept, like every joint, not just your spinal joints, meaning your vertebral joints. Sorry if I'm losing focus. In that, when you have optimal posture at a joint, you're talking about that joint having the best environment for the type of motion that that joint is supposed to be able to affect. So for that, we want to say the joint is not super compressed. That's a great example with your spine. The compression of your spine means those vertebrae are just jammed up on each other, pinching nerves, which results in nerve pain in the neck and migraine headaches, poor innervation of your diaphragm, potentially compromised breathing, less circulation to your brain. Do I have to go further? I will. Pain down the arm, tennis elbow, trigger finger, carpal tunnel. So much of it is but from compromised nerve pain that associates first and foremost originating in our spine. But also low back pain, SI pain, right? It's all related to compression of the vertebra against each other, which then, number one, those tissues get injured from the pressure. They also get injured from the way the pressure disturbs the alignments of the joint. If this is two vertebrae, for example, the expression I use in class is this mortar and pestle effect. So before we ask our spine to move, which we do every day, not just in class, right? But in class, we do it mindfully and purposefully, is we pull up to decompress that joint. And then the joint can hopefully move happier. And the lower in your spine that you're able to decompress, meaning the stronger you are at this full body exercise of engaging your suspension system and pulling up against gravity, the more freedom of range of motion you're going to have at your vertebral column at each stage of the vertebra. Now, without making this a whole spinal mobility conversation, because that's another 20 minutes, let's just take it a little further and talk about things like our hips and our knees, joints that also bear weight, but that aren't our spinal column. They have a type of posture as well. You want to think about your knee not just collapsing, right? This is very common for the knee to be compressed and gently in. Why is that? Or not gently, excuse me. Tilted in. Why is it tilting in? Because my hips are weak and rolling down. I need to strengthen my glutes to pull up, to have a nice level pelvis, and I need mobility in my hips so that I can stay that way, so that joint in the hip is nice and strong. Also part of my postural health. And as my hips lift, and as my hips get stronger to keep me here, my knees don't have that same compression. Going down further in the chain, my ankles, therefore, won't be suffering and rolling in. So my foot posture matters. I need a lifted, strong, stable arch. See my videos on short foot for arch strengthening and stability, and all kinds of foot mobility and strengthening videos that I've either posted, depending on when you've watched this, or I have yet to post. All right, so posture is really a full body phenomenon. All your joints, especially the ones that bear weight, have this issue where if you are just letting your body collapse under gravity, the joint will be compromised. And depending on the joint, that's going to have different types of deleterious effects. So what do? In addition to coming to class and practicing lifting, I tell people, if you just come to class and you spend this whole hour pulling up on your spine and you just stand, like when in the live class days or in-person class days, if you just stand and pull up on your posture while we do all of our other kinds of movements, right? That's still a good use of your hour. It's just the pulling up. It is a full body exercise. And if you're doing it well, you will start to sweat, because it requires so much strength and so many muscles. That's why a lot of us walk around with compromised posture. If it were easy, we wouldn't have this issue, but it takes strength. But like any form of strength, you start incrementally. So if you're in a little bit of a postural hole and you feel like any of the symptoms that I'm talking about, or you notice, you're like, oh, I'm really starting to sort of hunch and it's harder and harder to get lifted, start small. It's like when you go to the gym, you don't just go to the barbell rack and put 100 pounds on the, 100 pounds worth of plates on the barbell. No, you start with something manageable. So something more manageable, I would actually say start at your feet and start at your head. So pick one that you want, but both ends, go from both ends, right? They have a relationship. So look at the videos on short foot, get some foot activation, because trust me, if you're collapsing here, you're most likely collapsing in your feet, and you want to work at both ends of the system and then meet in the middle where it's hardest. So here's what I mean by that. When you go on your walks, when you're doing things around your house, think about your neck posture. Driving, it's really, car seat rests are horrible for messing up our posture. So if you can be aware of just even your neck posture in the car, that is huge. Lengthened, chin is neutral, ears are pulling back. You're actually tapping into muscles that cross all the way into your upper back and connecting to the back of your skull when you pull up and retract. If you need exercises on like chin retraction and things like this, lots of physical therapy exercises to help you get there. But you first and foremost just want to pull up without doing this. Lifting your chin is actually going to crunch up those neck spine. So lengthen up into the back of your head. All right, there's number one. Lift just the tip of the iceberg, just your head. It weighs a lot as it is, so you're already getting a lot of mileage out of just pulling up. Once the muscles that support and lift your head and neck are stronger, it's going to be easier for the muscles downstream to also do their part, right? So start with the tip of the iceberg. Start with the 5-pound dumbbell, not the 100 pounds. So pulling up, from the chin and the shoulders. Then next piece, get those ribs. Pull up from the ribs. You can even put your hands on your ribs and squeeze. So quick sidebar. When we squeeze our abs, there's sort of two directions you can think of it. They squeeze in or they brace out. If you've done any lifting, like powerlifting or kettlebell work or spinal stabilizing work, you know how to brace your abs, right? Like you breathe out, you make your abs hard, and you resist. That is the activation of your core that resists movement. That's really, really an important skill. But in this case, I actually want you to squeeze in like you're squeezing something to make your hand tight around it, not squeezing it to brace out. Squeeze in and use it like you're going to hoist up on a heavy hose from the middle, right? And then relax your shoulders down. And then brace your abs and stay lifted. All right, see how that works. So squeeze in, make a fist, like I hate the corset analogy, but the muscles really do wrap in all these different awesome directions. So squeeze them in, picture that, and then lift up on your spine, and then brace your abs out to stay lifted. All right, cool. Now you're walking around with a lifted, lengthened spine. So you can do that at different segments. So first the neck, which the neck muscles are a little different from the squeezing hose analogy, but still pull up. And then from here, squeeze, lift the ribs, settle the shoulders, stay lifted. As you get stronger, you'll be able to work that pulling up system lower and lower and lower and lower. Your abs go from your ribs to your pubic bone, to your pelvis, right? They got to get all the way. Your abs don't stop at your belly button, right? They got to get all the way down here. And what do we know? Our lowest most abs associate with our low back. So we eventually want to be able to pull from as low as we can to decompress into our lowest most spine. But that's a lot of body weight on top of those muscles. We are equipped to lift that body weight, but as we become deconditioned, it's harder and harder. And we don't want to become frustrated because when we go to lift from the lowest point, when we go to pick up that 100 pounds, we can't do it. Don't stop there. Don't stop there. Don't be defeated. Start with less. Pull up from as lower and lower and lower as you get stronger. That's my tip number 1. I'm so sorry. I might have to edit that out. Next thing is, if I didn't already talk, you are going to get your feet as well. So get the feet nice and strong. Nice strong feet is going to help you also activate your glutes, activate your hips, which is going to help you get more strength at the decompression you want of your hips and decompression of your knees. So you're going to pull up on this entire system, starting at the top, pushing into the bottom, getting stable, and then little by little, strengthening more. Come to class, strengthen all of the muscles. As they get more dynamic and strong, they will be better able to each individually play and play as a team. So here, I think of this almost as like a symphony, right? It's hard. It's a lot of muscles that have to coordinate to lift your spine and to really decompress. Lots of muscles in your back, in your deep core, in your hips. And first, you just need to play the muscle, play it like an instrument to get loud. Then you want to make some music together. So first, just do it as a strengthening exercise. And then little by little, you'll be able to get more coordinated. So you'll be able to walk around with better posture. You'll be able to do sport and different movements, maintaining your posture. But first, just work it as a drill to build the strength. Don't be frustrated. Make it a lifelong journey to rehabilitate your posture, invest in your health, invest in living a pain-free life, invest in not having symptomatic injuries that result from just not doing this work of lifting up. See you guys in class.